Hey there folks, John here with Through My Lens, and today I'm coming to you with another gun-related video. Today I'm going to be doing part 2 on my series in the truth about the P365XL Spectre Comp. Now I did my tabletop review on the P365XL Spectre Comp about a month ago. It's been several weeks and I promised to give some range footage. That's what I'm going to accomplish today. That video was more controversial than I anticipated. In my tabletop review, I speculated that the reason why some of the folks that had tested the gun already on YouTube were noting a significant difference between the Spectre Comp and the P365XL had more to do with the grip texturing than the actual compensator. I have shot the gun since then. I'm not going to spoil whether what I postulated on the tabletop was true. A lot of people in the comments have said, you know, there's no way I'm spending the kind of money that SIG is asking for the P365XL Spectre Comp. There's no way that it's worth the money. Other folks who have shot the gun and shot it and compared it to others have said, yeah, it's the real deal. It's worth the money. You need to check this out. And it definitely is a softer shooting experience. And some have even said it has nothing to do with the grip texture that's on the gun. So I'm going to compare, again, the P365. I've got a P365XL here that I'm going to do some comparison footage, hopefully get some slow-mo footage in there on video so you can see the firing impulse difference. You're going to note that my 365XL is lacking a rear sight or an optic. That's because I put the Romeo Zero optic that was in on this gun on my other one. I've got the new version of the Romeo Zero ordered. I'm guessing it's going to come from SIG in the next couple weeks. It seems to be delayed a little bit. And I looked around and I can't seem to find the rear sight plate. So I'm going to be shooting this without a rear sight. Not a big deal. I'm in fairly close distances here, 25 feet and in, shooting on steel. So I'm just going to have to be real front sight focused when I shoot this gun. I'm also going to roll in some footage here because I'm going to be comparing the Spectre Comp to several other popular choices for defensive use, for concealed carry, and I really want to try to find out is, you know, how does the shooting experience compare to some of these other choices that people have. Again, the 365XL is a pretty pricey gun, and you know, it really needs to step up to the table in the shooting experience to justify that cost. So I'm just going to kind of try to answer that question as well. So let's go ahead and roll in some range footage of me shooting the P365XL Spectre Comp alongside of several other firearms in my collection. Okay, so my range session is done and I'm back at the tabletop for my final conclusions. I've actually had two different range sessions with the Spectre Comp. I've put about 500 rounds through it, and so far I haven't experienced any problems with reliability, so that's a huge plus. I will say that I did most of that shooting with the black barrel from my P365. Remember that the Spectre Comp uses the same barrel size and length that's found in the original P365, not the P365XL, which does have a longer barrel than the Spectre Comp. Now I really like that because it allows me to save wear and tear on the titanium nitride coated barrel by using the black barrel from my P365. So here's the truth about the Spectre Comp. The hype is real. The difference in the recoil impulse in the Spectre Comp versus all other firearms that I tested was noticeable. It was definitely discernible. That part is not debatable. Was it a substantial difference? That's going to be more of a matter of opinion. Now, if you look closely at the slow motion footage of both the Spectre Comp and the P365XL, you'll see a slight difference in the recoil impulse. I think it feels more substantial than it actually is. It's remarkable to me just how much more comfortable the Spectre Comp is to shoot over the standard P365XL. You'll see a slight difference in the amount of muzzle rise. But what I noticed in the video is that the P365XL recoil drove me back further than the Spectre Comp. The Spectre Comp was particularly nice to shoot at speed. I think you can see a real difference in that footage, particularly in this side-by-side comparison. My hands are moving noticeably more with the P365XL than when shooting the Spectre Comp. What really surprised me is how the Spectre Comp stacks up against the two larger and heavier firearms that I fired during the test, the SIG P320 Compact and the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 Compact. Both of which, again, are heavier, and you would expect them to be more comfortable and exhibit less muzzle flip because of that size and weight difference. But the P320 Compact felt surprisingly snappy by comparison, no doubt due to that high bore axis that the P320 is famous for. Now the M&P 2.0 Compact was more comfortable in this regard and closer to the Spectre Comp in feel, but the recoil impulse again did drive me back a bit more than the Spectre Comp. I also did swap the grip modules of the Spectre Comp and the P365XL, and I will say that the grip module appears to be much less of a factor than I initially postulated it would be. The original grip pattern found in the P365 and the P365XL is quite good, as are the ergonomics of the platform. Particularly for someone with smaller hands like myself. I'm 5'8" in height. Now overall, I'd say the improvement in the recoil impulse of the Spectre Comp is about 20% and in line with SIG Sauer's own estimates from their marketing materials. Again, it is hard to argue that 20% is a substantial difference, particularly in a defensive shooting scenario. There are a few scenarios in which, let me say that again, there are very few scenarios in which the 20% improvement in the recoil impulse will yield any sort of a substantially different outcome in a defensive shooting scenario. Now, if you regularly practice with any of the firearms that I tested today, you will probably see similar results with all of them to the P365 Comp in terms of what you see on your target. But the Spectre Comp definitely feels nicer. It probably feels like a bigger difference than it actually is. Just like the snappiness of the P320 Compact feels like a bigger issue than many people make it out to be, particularly Glock owners. Now, anyone who has a weaker grip for whatever reason might want to consider this firearm. I'd like my wife to try it, for example. Perhaps someone who is elderly or has some sort of other strength diminishing impairment. Maybe you've got arthritic hands, for example. And let's be honest, even if you have a grip like a vise, if the gun is more pleasurable to shoot, then you're likely going to shoot it more. More practice is good. That will make you a better shooter. Is it worth the $1,200 price tag? It may be to some, yes. It is somewhat of a bougie gun, and I confess that I like bougie stuff. Now, to those who want to criticize those of us that like and own this gun, my response is simply, stop being poor. Yeah, I'm only half kidding there. There's nothing wrong, of course, with not being able to afford this firearm, as long as you recognize that there's nothing wrong with someone who can't afford this firearm. Well, there you have it. There is my part 2 on the truth about the SIG Sauer P365XL Spectre Comp. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care. God bless. We'll see you in the next one.
I hope you've enjoyed this production from the Through My Lens YouTube channel. If you did, please click on the like button and do share the video on social media. If you'd like to see more content like it, please do subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and do check out Through My Lens at www.throughmylens.org.